My lead animator has been hard at work creating the animations I need to implement Osana's confession cutscene. The animations are about 99% finished, but still need 2 or 3 minor adjustments before they can go into the game. So I can't give you an update on Osana today, but I feel certain that her confession cutscene will be completed sometime over the next 2 weeks. Whenever I upload a video without demonstrating any progress on Osana, there are people who take this as a sign that I'm not making any progress at all with the game. That's simply not the case, and I'd like to take a minute to provide you with my perspective on the situation. Osana is just one item on a checklist of features that all need to get done. My long-term goal is to make Yandere Simulator graduate from being a debug build for testing purposes to a true demo that effectively demonstrates what the final game is meant to be like. A lot more than just Osana is required to meet this criteria. Whenever I'm not working on Osana, I'm chipping away at the other features on that checklist. From my perspective, it doesn't really matter what order the checklist is completed in. Osana could be first, or last, or somewhere in the middle. To me, the most important thing is to always make progress on some part of the checklist, which is exactly what I've been doing for the past year. To measure the game's rate of progress on Osana alone would be a terrible logical fallacy, because you'd be ignoring all of the rapid progress I've been making on other aspects of the game. While waiting for Osana's animations, I've been chewing through as much of the checklist as possible. Some of the things I've accomplished are minor improvements, and other things are quite significant. In this video, I'm going to list many of the things I achieved over the past 2 weeks, in no particular order. Missing person posters will now appear in school after a character goes missing. The school nurse has been given proper AI. She can now react to murder, apprehend Yandere-chan, be killed, etc. A student who is late for class will now run to their classroom instead of walking slowly. Students will now react differently to compliments from Yandere-chan depending on Yandere-chan's reputation. You can now command a mind-broken slave to kill any student of your choosing, instead of being restricted to only killing Kokona. The headmaster now has voiced reactions to some of the weird things I've seen YouTubers trying to do with him.
What in blazes are you doing?
The player can now get a game over for allowing their reputation to drop too low. If your reputation is -100 or less, Senpai will hear about you and become afraid of you. I've also made tons of minor, miscellaneous changes to things that have been bugging me for a long time. For example, when the game needs to dynamically generate a list of all murder victims, the game is now aware of how to automatically produce a sentence with proper grammar. Yandere-chan's accessories are now hidden when she's aiming her camera, so that they don't block your view. Replacement gym teachers can now have pale skin instead of always having tan skin. There are now sakura petals on the ground in places where sakura petals are falling. There are now sound effects when equipping weapons. These are just a few of the changes in the latest build. I've made a bunch of other additions too. You can visit my development blog if you want to read about everything else that I accomplished over the past 2 weeks. I know that some of these things simply aren't going to excite you or interest you, and that you probably wish I had something more thrilling and glamorous to show off today. But I had to take care of this stuff sooner or later, and it just so happens that it got done over the past 2 weeks. On a more positive note, a lot of these tasks have been on my to-do list for over a year, and it felt great to spend a couple of weeks accomplishing as many checklist items as possible. It's been one of the most productive 2 weeks in the history of the project. There are still a lot of other things I also need to get done before Yandere Sim can graduate from being a debug sandbox to being a true demo. So please don't believe that Osana is the one and only thing that requires my attention. Before we move on, there's something I'd like to explain really quickly. Usually, when I'm developing a game prototype, I start out with a plain white environment. There are no textures and everything is a primitive shape, like a cube or a cylinder. During this phase, the most important thing is nailing down the camera, the controls, the physics, and the overall feel of the game. But after a while, I get kinda bored of staring at a white capsule all day. At this point, I might go to the Unity asset store and look for some cheap model I can throw into the prototype just to make it more bearable to look at. This helps a lot, but eventually I get bored of the colorless environment and I want to throw some textures into it. At this point, I might grab something from Google Image Search and throw it into the scene. When I get tired of seeing an environment composed of primitive shapes, I might find some free 3D model from the internet and drop it into the prototype. Now, it's common sense that you can't sell a game containing assets you don't own the rights to. So, obviously, anything that was downloaded from the internet is merely a temporary placeholder that was always intended to be replaced at some point in the future. Some of Yandere Simulator's environments came from the internet. For a long time, replacing them was extremely low on my priority list. But now that we are rapidly approaching the day when Yandere Simulator will shed its status as a debug sandbox and graduate into a true demo, it has become a higher priority to replace all temporary placeholder assets. You're probably wondering why I'm even bringing this up. It's because the next time you play Yandere Simulator, you might notice that a lot of environments look different now. This is because I'm finally doing a sweep through the whole game and replacing any models that were never intended to be part of the final product. I wanted to mention this in a video just so you're not super confused when you load the game and see all the changes. There are still a few placeholder assets lingering around in the game, but I'll be replacing them as quickly as I'm able to. Before I end the video, there's one last topic I'd like to discuss. It's about the Yandere Sim merchandise that became available last month. I want to say thank you to everyone who purchased a shirt or any other product from the Crowdmade store. I appreciate your support. A lot of people contacted me to say that they missed out on the chance to buy the gold foil products and asked me if these products would ever become available again. I spoke with the guys at Crowdmade and we've agreed to bring back the gold foil shirts for 10 days. So if you missed the opportunity to get a gold foil shirt last time, now's your chance. Now that I've covered every topic that I wanted to discuss, I'm ready to end the video. Even though I wasn't able to show you any progress on Osana in this video, I hope that I made up for it by providing some information about my other priorities. After Osana's confession cutscene is done, I'll elaborate further about what it'll take to get Yandere Sim from a debug state to a demo state. Thank you for following the development of Yandere Simulator.